Start. Hey, this is Winnie Wilkinson, host of Hey Neighbor here, and today we have the Honorable Mayor of St. Albans, Vermont, Tim Smith, and we are so honored to have him here to give us insights about what is going on in St. Albans right now and what about the future of St. Albans and which directions we're going to go to. So I will now introduce our Honorable Mayor of St. Albans, Tim Smith.
Thank you, Winnie. You like using that word honorable. Thank you for having me. A pleasure to be here. And it's been, I know we've tried here for about a month to get going, but
Yeah.
I appreciate this, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing the show. And I think you and I just discussed about your lineup of potential guests, and I think those will all be worthwhile discussions that you'll have moving down and moving forward, and I think the public will enjoy it.
Yes, yes. The whole concept is for people to be able to have conversations about the community, the good, the bad, and the indifferent,
Yeah.
and also come up with solutions.
Yeah, and that's coming up with the solutions is the hard part.
Yes,
Everyone can have the conversation, everyone can voice their opinion, there can be pros and cons to all topics, but the solutions is a tricky thing, and I share that regarding the drug epidemic and the homeless situation where it's not just in St. Albans and in Burlington, it's nationwide.
yes,
It's in cities that, for the most part, have services, and no one, if I'm wrong about this, let me know, but no one has come up with a solution on how people have certain ideas, but I don't know that there's been a proven solution that towns like us can afford to do. So that it's an ongoing conversation, and I'm not sure where we're headed for sure, but I know that St. Albans has a lot of good resources.
yes,
Martha's Kitchen's got to be one of the best community
Yes.
kitchens going.
yes,
Brother Bob does a wonderful job. Tim's House, CBOEO, Spectrum, a lot of resources
yeah.
to assist, but not, I don't mean this in a bad way, but not necessarily solving the problem.
Yes, well, Spectrum just received $1 million donation, and I'm sure that that is going to be a great investment in St. Albans and with our young people. But again, I always refer to where I came from, which is while I was in New York, I lived in a town called Huntington in Suffolk County. And what we did is that the government and community, non-for-profit communities always have a meeting every month. And we look at the statistics of what worked and what didn't work. We also speak a lot to the people we're trying to
Right.
assist. So we also get it from their perspective. And then it's not something that could be written in black and white and you follow that.
Right.
It's a moving document, a living document. So as the situation change, then you make adjustments.
Yeah, you and I had spoken about your
Leadership
your
Huntington.
leadership Huntington, and the successes you had with that.
Yeah.
Moving forward, and
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of we have a lot of great partners that work closely together.
Yes.
I know you have the one at Northwest Counseling. Can't think of the name, but I think they have about 40 partners at the table on a monthly.
Oh, yes,
on a-
yes. Melinda's in part of that. I usually listen to their meetings sometime. That is a great program because they sponsor a program in Chittenden County, which I believe they should also sponsor one here. However, that program was cut from the state budget, is the Chittenden Academy Kitchen. And I did that program when with the COVID program, and I was like, I'm not the kind of just could sit down. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, I could do that. I like to cook, and I did do that program. And is a program that assists people that would like to go into an industry, in the food industry, but don't have the experience and don't have the discipline. And that program help assist people, because one of the guys that was in that class works at a restaurant on Church Street, and this is his third year.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
I
And
think, not to interrupt you, but I think community partners is the meeting that happens.
yes.
And the state used to fund those
Yes.
12, 15 years ago. And Franklin County, I think, is the only county that has continued on with community partners, mainly by volunteer
Yes.
and different partners taking the lead.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we're one of the few that has kept it going, and it's very strong.
Yes, it is. It
So-
is. Well, when Senator Tony was here, we also had that discussion where a volunteer, you do have guidelines, but you don't have the time restrict, like 9 to 5, 9 to 4, and you got to lunch at this time. A volunteer is there to assist with a process.
Right.
And if we leave it the way it is right now, where certain things is only employees who is controlling it, and like volunteers are like a very touchy subject. So we have to change that mental thinking and realize that it will work. If we have, you're going to meet, I also volunteer for restorative justice, because I believe that my perspective from a different concept can also assist a person who's going through the program, because sometimes they just need a listening ear.
Right.
But when you got a caseload and this person, they don't have
Well,
the time to go through that middle hole that we always talk about that is missing. So I'm looking from as a spectator to the whole situation, and I'm trying to see how productive more people who can volunteer, even if it's 4 hours a month, to assist people who they're working with to get over these little personal humps,
Right.
to get
To-
to the,
To mentor them.
yes.
I just want to add another curve to that, if you will. I mean, I'm curious as to the volunteers that you work with at Restorative Justice, what's the age? Because I think we're seeing a lot of the boards are older. And I think it's a valuable conversation that somehow we need to engage. I'm
The
not
younger
I'm not
people.
gonna pick an age, but you
Younger
know,
people.
just younger than
Yes.
you and I, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I don't know why, and maybe it's intimidating to come onto a board with, 12, 15 people who are maybe twice your age.
Yeah.
But we need, for the community to continue to prosper and go down these, with all these organizations that run off volunteers. Any organization, whether it's NCSS or Restorative Justice or City Council, I mean, everyone's volunteering. And without volunteers, then we're gonna come to a standstill.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll refer back to Huntington, Vermont. Huntington,
Vermont, I didn't know you were from Huntington, Vermont.
Huntington, New York. There's a Huntington, Vermont.
There is.
The graduating class from the high school, if they're going to go into social work, those are the people that we, part of their graduation, it was part in the curriculum for the school, and this is what they would do.
And we do have that here. I think I think all the local high schools have it. I think to graduate, you need to volunteer for 10 hours of community service of some sort. I think going back to your point, how do you track that to see if it had an impact? Impact is always interesting. You say Winnie volunteered, 10 hours at the library. did that lead Winnie to be a librarian, or did that, you know, or did that lead them to come back as a trustee of the library? You know, it's always interesting to see what impacts our youth and moving
Right.
forward.
Right, and again, the impact would be personal, because if when I volunteer, I want to make that human change,
Yep.
assisting another human to see their situation from a different perspective. There is a young lady that I assist in this town, and no one ever told her that she was worthy. And from talking to her, I'm not going to be anything. I'm not going to. And every time I see her, I'll be like, oh, you're going to have a good day? Oh, and you're the only person that tells me this. And then she started believing it.
No, it's important. Positive reinforcement is huge. It's huge across the
Right.
board.
And
And I say that about our high school. I
Yep.
mean, we hear so much about mental health and kids at risk and all that at the high school. And my thing has always been, the more touches you can have on a student, whether it's, you know, whether it's a principal saying, seeing someone in the hall and saying, how's your day going?
yes,
Just the individual wants to know that
they're worthy.
they're worthy and people care about them.
Right. And when they get that A after they struggle and with counseling and with tutors and they get that A, that should be celebrated.
Yeah, it's great. It's great when you hear those stories.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's great when someone succeeds, and that
Right.
has you know, maybe coming out of a broken home and didn't have much mentorship.
Right.
It's great when they manage to do it with the help of others, but mainly their drive to make them be productive in society.
And when they know that they're valuable
Yeah,
in society. Jody White was here
yeah, I
as
know.
one of our guests, and his story is a unique redemption story because he grew up here,
Mhm.
and he spoke about when he came back that you know, he just used to keep his head down and, you know, try to do some stuff, and some people like shun him, but he worked hard at saying, this is the new Jody, I've changed. And then he started
Yeah.
building things in this society where him and his wife are two power couple within that arena to assist people to know, if you go through this step, if you mess up, it's okay, we're going to try another method. But they know that they have these two people that they can count on. And they're taking their time to give that extra, no matter what's going on, because they knew that somebody else took the time with them when they were going through their
So
stuff.
funny story about Jody was, I moved back to the area and I was a para-ed at the high school for 4 months,
Yeah,
and Jody was in one of the classes that I was in with, and that was 30 years ago. And
Yeah.
to this day, I mean, even, I didn't see Jody much 15 years ago or 20 years, but every time I'd see him or he'd see me, you know, we had a connection.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything special. It was
Yeah.
just, he was able to say hi, Tim, and I was able to say hi, Jody.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't talk about it, but it's a connection we've had for 30 years, just sort of checking in on each
Yes.
other. And
Yes.
And,
And it's as simple as that, you know.
it is as simple as that. You're
It's
right.
simple, because I can remember when I don't know if you could recall, when I moved here the first time, you weren't even mayor or anything then.
I wasn't.
No, not. I met you at the post office. And I was having a problem, like locating, because usually the numbers are from the smaller to the bigger, but the post office is in the reverse.
Right.
And you were like, oh, what's the number? And you actually showed me the.
Oh,
and
I did, yeah.
Yes, and we just, every time I say, it's like, hi, because I remember that you helped me and I was new to the town. And we would always talk, you know, I would always say, well, you know, this about the community and that about the community. And, you know, we have these
Yeah,
conversations.
we have good conversations.
Yeah, and that is a lot of people I've met that way too, and we became,
You know?
you know, we just talk.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, And I get the world's different, you
Yeah.
know, than when we grew up.
Yeah.
But I try to say hello to anyone I come across on the street, and I don't know what everyone has going on in their lives, but sometimes it's discouraging is not the right word, but disappointed that sometimes people just don't want to. And I get there's
Yeah.
a male female thing,
Yeah.
but I always try to say hello, have eye contact, and
Yeah.
just to connect with someone, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work that way, but I think people want to have random conversations.
Yes, they
you
do.
know. You know, I just came from the post office, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I spoke. We were joking that a car had parked right in front of the door at the post office, and music going and car running and all that, and it was there for 10 or 15 minutes. And a lady came out and she was like looking at, because she had to walk around it to. So I said, "You didn't get one of those private parking spots?" She said, "No, I wish I knew how to get one." But she laughed,
Yeah.
and we have and that's
Yeah, you make the
it's pretty
day, right?
simple. I mean, it's
But I want to tell you about an interesting story between you and I as well, down through the years. You didn't know that the African American women wear wigs. And I find that
not as often as you do.
if you know one, I gotta wear it out because if you and you say hi and I'm like, "Hi, how are you, Tim?" And you look, "Hi," and the conversation ends right there. And I'm like, "Oh yeah," but and then I say, "You know, this is Winnie, right?" And I did not realize that people didn't realize it was me with the different wigs. That was too funny.
Yeah,
But
we definitely laugh about it.
yeah, that was a good one. It's like everyone is like, "Hi, this is Winnie." And so, and I am trying to present St. Albans as not a us and them, but as a we, because we are neighbors. We all must coexist to exist and to make this community thrive. And the us, I believe, is a softer place to land when you have commonalities.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I don't. And once again, I'm an old soul, I guess. I mean, I
Yeah.
enjoy how I grew up, and I enjoyed that everyone in the neighborhood knew everyone,
Yeah.
and that people watched out for their kids and knew what their kids were up to, good or bad.
Yeah.
And I don't think. I think there's a lot of neighborhoods where there's no interaction. I know that Eric Johnson on the council has done. He did a spring block party,
Yeah.
and he has another one coming up. I think Saturday, tomorrow, up at Barlow Street. They're going to do some winter activities to bring people together and at least get to know your neighbor, say hello. You don't have to be in all their business, but
Right.
just know them and say hello, and if they need help, they know who to call on.
Right. And
Well,
know that the different cultures, even within
Exactly, yeah,
St. Albans,
yeah.
people who are born here, there's subcultures.
Yeah.
For example, I'm going to drop it at your door mouth. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Because it was something new to me
Yep.
to drop something at somebody's door mouth. And then that is a St. Albans, Franklin County.
And you
so-
deal, not historically, it's been a French or an Irish community historically. You had the two churches. You had St. Mary's Church for the Irish Catholics, and you had
And the Congregational Church.
the congregation. Yeah, so, but it's even, the number of heritages, if you will, is growing all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And it's a learning opportunity for sure
For everyone.
for everyone. Yes.
Yeah, it warms my heart every time I go into Price Chopper to see the two African American pharmacists that we have there now.
Yep.
That and the hospital as well. I sit on the patient advisory board at the hospital, and with all the different, we have a Jewish, we have different cultures there, and this was some of the feedback that we had, and it brought a tear to my eyes to know that they had Kwanzaa, They had the Jewish celebration
Yeah.
along with the
Okay.
regular Christmas Christian celebration, and they had happy holidays all over. And the Abenaki flag was I don't know how you say the flag was flying at a hospital for the Abenaki tribe,
Yeah.
and so these are the things that make a community tribe, and that we all are welcome, and we are coming. We all have the same good for the community, but we're coming from different perspectives based on our knowledge. And we are going to have teachable moments where if you didn't know this, you know now.
Right.
And part of the legislation that we worked on, and some coming from Franklin County as well, was the wig thing. A lot of people thought we were wearing costumes to disguise. There was their perception. And we had a legislator out of Catman County, somewhere up and that way, down south, and she wrote a bill that we could wear our hair anyhow, and it was passed.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and it was passed.
Was that last year or 2 years
Yes,
ago?
no, last year.
It was last year.
Yeah, it took a while because other legislators, was teachable moments, other legislators didn't understand the importance of that. It's like, and we have a lot of problems when we do it.
Right.
We introduce as a new person when it's the same person with a different hairstyle. And so,
So
you know,
that bill was for me, you're saying?
yeah, your name should have been on that bill. And so, and then coming to, I don't know if you're aware of this because I do more all over the state, kind of listening to different perspectives of what's going on. I was alarmed when Franklin County, St. Albans came up on the red line in. I don't know if you heard about that. That St. Albans is part of the red line in the state of Vermont. I was alarmed at that.
I wasn't aware of that, no.
Yeah, and we're going to have a guest on the 28th of next month. And she has been very instrumental on doing the data and the statistics, and has a demographic, statistical demographic chart. And I was alarmed as to why we only live in certain areas and how historic it was. I know when I used to live on Lower Newton, it was myself and a well-decorated veteran, Kathy, who is now retired. And our experience was that we were never understood. She was from Panama. And so we both had accents, and the interactions were very interesting, that things that we didn't say is what we said.
And at the gathering, there was an individual from New Zealand.
Oh,
And I thought they were just based on accent. I thought they were
from the same place.
from the same place.
Yeah, they were not.
And it was shared that historically that Australians don't necessarily like New Zealanders, and it was funny. But the individual said, "But he's a good guy. We like him." You know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little bit different because they were both white individuals.
Yeah.
You know? So you don't, the appearance.
Yeah.
It's the accent, or it's their hometown is what.
Right.
But I just never thought of.
Yeah.
I guess it might be like Canada and us, but not that we have
A lot of different. We all human.
Yeah, we're all human. I mean, if you wouldn't be able to tell a Canadian here, or outside of the language maybe, but
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, Canadian. Hey,
yeah.
I need that. Hey.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So it's interesting that it can be that the differences can be anywhere and anyone.
Yeah, and when Senator Tony was here, she spoke about it, about the area that she came from. And 20 minutes and you're in another country, you gotta speak a different language, and
Yeah.
then 20 minutes the other way is interesting. But then we all come together. You go to a bar, and this one
Right,
person is
yeah.
not gonna tell you, oh, you can't have a drink because you're from Australia. You know
Right.
what I mean? But then when you get to talking, I am so big on conversations.
That makes me.
You get to learn so much.
You're right. You're right.
And I don't know if you could recall, I know you have it in your office. When I went to Ghana in 2014, the mayor, well, it's not the mayor, the equivalent to the mayor of the area that I was born, my ancestors are from, made that piece of art. And he told me that when I come back to where I live in, they call it the foreign land, which is here. When I come back, make sure that I give it to my mayor. And it was the world and all of us keeping.
I have since got them separated.
How did you? Oh, okay. Because I was like, how did you do that? Yeah, yeah. And it
No,
was
it sits on my desk, and it's
a conversation piece.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it speaks volumes.
Yeah, and it was, and this is Africa and America, and it's because the uniting of human beings is interesting with when we all just take a little bit of our time and understanding and building.
I think that's I think something that doesn't get enough credit is the Peace Corps, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, I don't know how many. So I'm a little partial. My wife was in the Peace Corps. She was in Mali.
Oh,
and,
yeah, yeah. She did tell me about
Yeah,
that.
and so a lot of, I don't know how many people the U.S. sends or puts into or people volunteer to be in the Peace Corps. But, that's a two-way street for sure.
Yeah.
They're learning about cultures, and they're learning about the U.S.
Yes,
as well.
culture, right.
And,
And the
but-
cuisines, the food.
yeah, everything.
yeah.
Living habits, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think they get enough credit, the Peace Corps,
Yeah,
as
the
to,
Peace
to
Corps.
trying to do exactly what you're saying, have those conversations, educate people about, and I strongly believe it's a two-way street. It's not just, I think we need to do a better job of letting people know who Americans are. I think we
Yes.
have an image
Yeah.
across the world that probably
That
not
is
always
arrogant
ideal.
and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
egotistical.
Yeah,
Well, BEI is having welcome. I don't know if it's going to be every month. I was listening to their meeting, but they're going to have something over at Hard Deck.
Again, the Greg Brown Lodge.
Yes,
Yep.
and where they're inviting new members into the community to come and get to know, more
Yeah.
about the community and the different services and the other thing. And what I went to a meeting in Shelburne, which is in Chittenden
Shelburne,
County,
yeah.
last night, and they don't call it potluck. They call it sampling cuisines, which is a very sophisticated way of putting it.
Yeah.
And they had a map of every person that they interact with for 2024, and they actually had 35 countries.
Really?
Yeah, that are living here and who are doctors, pharmacists. They work at UVM,
Engineers,
Champagne
yeah,
engineers,
yeah.
and I was impressed. And they could tell you about different. When you go, you have to bring some cuisine from your country, and you dress from your country. And the interesting thing is that most of the pictures I was seeing, Americans dressed in a suit, a regular British-looking kind of suit. And whereas the Chinese dress with this, and it was very colorful with the pictures that they have. And
Where was
they
that held?
in someone's how do you call it? Sodium. It's not a foyer of the house, but it's part of their house. But it's where you gather, where they have this long sodium. It's some word
Yeah.
that I wasn't familiar with in English. But Tony invited me, and so I was very impressed that little Vermont, with under 1 million people, could have people that visited this particular group from 35 countries. I know in St. Albans we have Zimbabwe, Haiti, Jamaica, Guyana, St. Lucia. We have a couple agents that work in that federal building from Tanzania, a couple African countries in that building as well. However, they didn't move in to live here yet because they can't find an apartment and they don't because of their
Well-
sense of work. They can't buy a house here because they
Well,
didn't come here permanently.
Yeah, so let me just chime in on that a little bit. So we have the same, so my real job is Director of Franklin County Industrial Development.
The one that you work part-time at?
Yeah. So we, you know, we work with a lot of manufacturers. We try to help them grow. We recruit new business, you know, all of that. And there's one business that has hired a number of new Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue is that they've been hired as temp employees. So they're not, as a temp, you don't get access to the same benefits as a permanent, you don't get the same pay.
Mm-hmm.
And they are currently being transported from the majority of them,
Yeah.
from Chittenden County to
Winooski,
Franklin, to St. Albans
Winooski.
to work area.
Yeah.
And they're great workers, the company loves them, and they would love to make them permanent employees.
But they
to-
can't.
To get, you know, as I said, better pay, better benefits, but they can't because they don't have a license. And they depend on their temp service, which provides a van and drives them up on a daily basis and drives them back home. And as soon as they become a full-time employee or a permanent employee,
That stops.
that stops. So now they have no transportation from Chittenden County to here. We've had the conversation multiple times with the state. It hasn't gone too far. So that's something that needs to be addressed for sure. Because to your point, you know, if they can make more money, they can have benefits, and then start looking for long-term, maybe buying a house or a condo or something, and not necessarily in Chittenden County, it could be
Right
Franklin
here
County
in
as
Franklin
well.
County.
But
Exactly.
until we get creative, and it doesn't even take a lot of creativity to figure
It's
that problem
changing
out.
the zoning law in the industrial area would be, in my opinion, would be a great place to start, and making them getting to work walkable.
Right,
That is another excellent, and again, I could tell you that we did that in Huntington, Long Island, where the industrial area, we call it mixed use.
yeah.
And so the industrial area was not only in for industrial businesses as well, we also had the nicely built place for the employees.
Yeah, no, the St. Albans Town Industrial Park's not far from residential areas, you know, just over the railroad tracks is 3 large apartment buildings
Where?
on South Main Street, you know, as you go past the industrial park and you start going up the hill, it's off to the right.
They will have to do some training and
No, I
integrating
Yes, no,
a
you-
different culture.
yes, no, you're exactly right. I'm just saying that, that the park does have the
Yeah.
residential piece around it.
And probably could build a road instead
yes,
of
a
coming on the
road or a
main
bike
road.
path or something
Yeah,
that
back
would come
path,
down into the.
make it a walking
And you-
trail.
And you have a lot of, just off Nason Street as well. The park is surrounded by residential.
Or you're talking about the trailer park that's in
Yeah,
that area,
that
right?
and a couple of the other developments.
Dropping some tiny
Yep,
homes.
Yep. So we're situated pretty well for that, where you don't necessarily need a vehicle. But we need to.
Sit down and
Get-
have, because I had this conversation with someone and they told me that I was crazy because that will never happen in St. Albans. And I'm saying St. Albans is still part of America. Every town evolves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the industrial park wasn't there 50 years ago.
And so,
That was all farm field.
exactly, and because it's a moving document, it's written in black and white, but back then, 98, we're in 2025. We have to amend these to make it movable, living documents.
And I know we're running out of time.
Yeah.
And if we want these businesses to thrive and stay here,
Yep,
they need to have employees.
exactly, and peerless.
Fearless.
Peerless is where the basic skill, you could go there and learn basic skills
right.
and move up.
Build your resume.
Build your resume, also develop a working etiquette
No doubt.
to really be able to take care of yourself and your family.
So there you go. When you solve the problems.
See? See, that is why we wanted to have the Honorable Mayor Tim Smith here so that we could solve some problems within 30 minutes that is around. But again, we should continue this conversation. And if you would like to make an appointment to speak with our Honorable Mayor Tim Smith, and you can have solutions from your perspective, because he's open to listen to everything that we have to say from different perspectives. The town board meeting or the council meetings are fine, but one-on-one is also just as effective if we do it respectfully. Once again, this is Winnie Wilkinson, the host of Hey Neighbor Hey, a local TV talk show that is hosted by Northwest Access TV in the town of St. Albans, Vermont. One love,